Let me play this video of this boy, right?
Listen, this is an advice to Muslims who doesn't know much about Islam, and those who are converting and those who are learning, and those who wants to convert. Listen and listen attentively. You see this guy here, I don't know whether he is a Muslim or he is not a Muslim. The moment you start following this man, I don't know what you are going to tell the Prophet on the day of judgment.
So after he did a video, a trending video, when I spoke about the Kaaba, he did a video. So I gave him like a 2 weeks interval. Then I responded. When I responded, I dismantled him from head to toe. So he became emotional. He couldn't get back again. So because he was emotional now, he has to now go on the fatwa. This is what they do. They go on the fatwa and then they start preaching to their audience. They say, beware of this guy. And this is what we call damage control. He tried to tarnish my image, right? This is what all the mushriks do. But what they fail to realize is for the past 7 years, my channel, my audience is growing bigger because I only have wise people who listen to me. Unfortunately, foolish people don't listen to me. Yes. And the foolish people are people like him. You understand? So they will keep telling all the foolish people, stay away from this guy. So wise people, they know what they are looking for. It is not media after, it is after the message I have to speak about and the wisdom I have to spew. So I appreciate your presence if you are a wise person. However, let me take this guy bit by bit and let me educate him the difference between translation and explanation. He doesn't understand English. I'm going to help you. Priest Mushrik, let me help you out. So let's take him bit by bit.
If you are a Muslim and you are watching this, listen.
So he says, if you are a Muslim and you are watching this, listen. So their definition of a Muslim is when you are a Sunni, when you are a Shia, when you are Tijaniya, Ahmadiyya, Sufiya, Salafiyya, Wahhabiyya, Qadiriyya, Istiqama, and so on. That is their definition of who a Muslim is. These mushriks, Prince Mushrik, that is his definition. So if you are part of those group, he says, listen, I know you guys will listen to him. I'm only responding to this video because the video has trended, and that is why I'm responding. Because he doesn't befit for me to actually get back to him. This guy, I literally texted him to come for a dialogue. He's running away. Let me put it on the screen so that you know I'm not lying. So now you can see. When I sent him the message, he gave a reply. This is what he wrote. So that for people who don't know how Prince Mushrik is, his attitude. He says, if you are growing up leaving your brain on the floor, things will always be like this for you. Now, this is another side of Prince Mushrik people didn't know. So I'm showing you. And he has the message. I don't know if he deleted, but he has it. After he gave this response, I never responded to him again. I need your scholars, not you. You are an amateur. You don't even know English. So then he made that statement. Then the second statement, he says, I knew it. I knew it. That is after I dismantled him. I did a video and dismantled it. Then he used the word, I knew it. I ignored him. Then he says, this is why you will surely turn into, which kind of English is? You have to say, this is what? But he says, this is why you will surely turn into when you grow with ignorance and your brain is left on the floor. And then he toppled it up by saying, you calls yourself. Please, you don't say you calls. You calls yourself. It's not English. So you are writing to me English and you say you calls yourself a Muslim and you don't pray. That's what he wrote. He doesn't know me, you see. And he says you want, and he had S, you want a dialogue and you think I talk with people like. So then he quoted Quran chapter 2 verse 18. Then he says, or what? So it clearly tells you how he's running away. This is what they do. They run away. This was when I actually approached him and he refused. I ignored him. Then I did the rebuttal. You remember the rebuttal? Prince Mushrik being dismantled by the correctional officer, right? You remember that, right? I did part 1 and 2. Go and watch if you have never watched. And I packaged him nicely and gave it back to his scholars if they are watching him. So after I dismantled his career, he now turned into a preacher to do fatwa against correctional officers. You forgot, your scholars even do fatwa. It never work. I told him clearly in the video that I'm going to use you as a scapegoat, and I did. So now he came back preaching.
It's to Muslims who doesn't know much about Islam.
He says this is an advice to Muslims. He was supposed to say who don't know about Islam. He says who doesn't know about Islam. Your English is even problematic.
And those who are converting and those who are learning.
So he's advising those who are converting and those who are learning, right? So he's trying to advise you.
Those who wants to convert, listen.
And those who want to convert, he's talking, he said, listen, he's going to do fatwa about me.
And listen attentively. You see this guy here, I don't know whether he is a Muslim or he is not a Muslim.
Then he already knows I'm a Muslim. He knows. You saw in the message he exchanged with me, right? He even said I'm a Muslim. Then he went ahead to say you don't pray. He doesn't know me. He is confused. And this is my problem with mushriks. Please, if you're coming coming after correctional officer, be prepared. Don't come unprepared. Make sure you know me very well before you step on my toe. I'm coming full force to dismantle you. I'm serious. You forgot what God told the prophet concerning the kafirs and the hypocrite. Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu jahidul kuffara wal munafiqina waghluzu alayhim wa ma'wahum jahannam wa bisal masir. So if I'm coming against you, I'm using the same criteria God gave to the prophet against the kafirs and the munafiqun. You are the hypocrites, telling us we cannot follow Islam without your garbage books. Quran is enough for us, the book of God. You said we need to add your garbage books, right? I'm going to make you emotional just like I did like this.
The moment you start following this man, I don't know what you're going to tell the prophet on the day of judgment.
What? You see the foolishness again. He says the moment you start following me, he doesn't know what you are going to tell the prophet on the day of judgment. You see the foolishness I'm telling you about. These are the mushriks I'm telling you about. What do you need to tell the prophet on the day of judgment? Is prophet your God? Is he the one you are going to face on the day of judgment? Does judgment day belong to him? Whenever you read Surah Al-Fatiha, out of your foolishness, didn't you see God saying Maliki Yawmiddin, that he is the possessor of the day of judgment? So instead of going to face God, you say you are going to tell prophet what? No wonder you guys worship the prophet in vain.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran in Surah An-Nahl, Bil bayyinati waz zubur wa anzalna ilayka dhikra litubayyina lin-nasi ma nuzila ilayhim wa la'allahum yatafakkarun. Allah.
Now he quoted this verse, chapter 16 verse 44. He did in the previous video and I corrected him, but because they are big-headed, they are very stubborn, they are mushriks, they don't take correction. So now he's coming to go back again and do the same mistake, but this time he even made the mistake double. So cross-check him. If you have the Quran, take and check. Quran chapter 16 verse 44. He is quoting Bil bayyinati waz zubur wa anzalna ilayka dhikra litubayyina lin-nas ma nuzila ilayhim wa la'allahum yatafakkarun. Check it for yourself if you understand Arabic. Check the explanation he's going to give.
Said, with the clear proofs in the books, we have sent down to you the reminder and the advice that is.
Then he put a translation. Then he says, with clear signs and books. Then he says, we have also sent down to you the reminder and the advice. Is that what God says? Az-zikra, is it reminder and advice? Seriously, the word az-zikra, does it mean reminder and advice? Praise mushrik. Is that what it means? But because you don't understand Arabic, you don't know Arabic, child play, MSc, modern standard, Nahu, they have taught you. You think that means you know Arabic. We are talking about lisanun arabiyyun mubin. That is the Quran. Study the Quran. If you know Arabic, you will not be translating that verse and write a reminder and advice. You are a fool to do that. God mentioned az-zikra. He didn't mention two things. And then you are saying reminder and advice. Is that what God says?
It's referring to the Quran. That you
Then he says it's referring to the Quran. I corrected you on this.
You may explain to mankind what is sent down to them. This is so clear, stated by Allah subhanahu.
To explain to mankind what is sent down to them. What did he say to explain to them? I corrected you and you don't know where az-zikra is. You thought az-zikra means Quran. When we say az-zikra, you find it in the Quran. Go to Surah As-Sad, chapter 38, verse 1. Swad wal Quran is zikr. The Quran possesses the az-zikra. The Quran contains the az-zikra. The Quran has the az-zikra. There's a difference. Understand this. Let God explain the Quran to you. Don't be a fool like this mushriks.
That the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam should explain the Quran to.
Where does it say? When you quoted Bil bayyinati waz zubur wa anzalna ilayka zikra litubayyina lin-nas, did he say wa anzalna ilayka al-Quran in that verse? Is that what he says? Wa anzalna ilayka al-Quran? Is that what he says? So now, if God says litubayyina lin-nas ma nuzila ilayhim, if you know fi'il madi, you will know it is past tense and it's talking about up there. Fas'alu ala zikr in kuntum la ta'lamun. Start from verse 43, chapter 16, verse 43 to verse 44. It's telling you about the previous people who have received books from God. So that is why it says Bil bayyinati waz zubur. But because mushriks don't know how to deal with siyak al-kalam, which is called context, that is the foolishness they keep teaching people out there. They think they are knowledgeable. I dare you to call correctional officer and see how I will school you on that day, face to face.
Mankind. But this man here, according to his own authority, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has no right to explain the Quran to mankind.
So he says, according to my own authority, the Prophet has no right to explain the Quran to mankind. Why couldn't you quote a verse clearly, explicitly, to show us where God says Prophet should explain the Quran to mankind? You are a fool to leave the explanation of God after God is telling the Prophet, لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه فإذا قرأناه فاتبعوا قرآن ثم إن علينا بيانه. So bayanahu is in the hands of God. So you said it is in the hands of the Prophet. And still, I dare you and your scholars, all of you, to show me one single verse where God says the Prophet should explain the word Al-Quran to the people. It doesn't exist. And you foolishly still quoting the same verses your puppet scholars, your confused celebrity scholars are teaching you, think you have knowledge. Let me get you on the right day. You stop laughing. They're still forcing and foolishly telling us that the Prophet is the one to. So he went one of my old video. He cut my video out of context. Now he took my video and took it out of context because they don't know how a statement starts and ends. There is something we call siyaq al-kalam. You look for the subject of a statement and where it stops. That is why in a text you have full stop. So whenever a statement starts and it has full stop, you can get the gist of what is being said. Now, he took my video out of context and then he took where I was saying, even though God is the one explaining the Quran, you out of your foolishness and keep telling us the Prophet is the one explaining the Quran. So he didn't put where I said God is explaining. Then he put the insult and say, I said out of the foolishness. And let me show you that this guy doesn't understand English. So check.
Now, if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whom Allah has given the authority to explain the Quran to mankind,
where did he give him that authority? You see the foolishness again. You couldn't show us a verse where God says he has given the authority to Prophet Muhammad to explain the Quran. Chapter 55 verse 1. Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran khalaqal insan allamahu al-bayan. God is the teacher of the Quran. And Quran chapter 75 verse 16 to 19, God says thumma inna alayna bayanahu. God is the one to explain and or clarify the Quran. Again, there is no single verse in the Quran where God says Prophet Muhammad should explain the Quran. This is what these mushriks don't understand, the difference. As a messenger, he's supposed to make the book known to the people. Known. Just like Bani Israel, God told us the same thing. Quran chapter 3 verse 187. Out of the covenant God took with us is to make the book known to the people. To make something known is don't hide it, but reveal it like this to the people so they will see what God has done in the book. So when you read Quran chapter 6 verse 105, listen to what God says. وَكَذَلِكَ نُصَرِّفُ الْآيَاتِ وَلِيَقُولُوا دَرَسْتَ وَلِنُبَيِّنَهُ لِقَوْمِ يَعْلَمُونَ. And that's how God conducted the verses of the Quran so that they, the people, might say you have studied. So that what will God do? So that we may clarify it for people who know. So it is God to clarify the verses and to clarify the Quran and to even clarify the book. That is why he says in Quran chapter 16 verse 89, وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبِيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. So God says the book on its own is a clarification for all things, but mushriks are still insisting hadith is going to explain the Quran, like this Prince Mushrik
has no right to explain it. Then who will do that?
You see the foolishness? Then who will do that? God is claiming to be the one explaining the Quran, but because you are a foolish mushrik, you don't want to take advice. I'm going to smack you big time so that you wake up. Seriously, if I don't smack you, your scholars will not respond. Being somebody who has translated a fully translated Quran, I can give people the guideline so that they can understand what the rules on how to understand the Quran. So this is where he got the missing link. So I was saying, I being somebody who has translated the Quran. Listen carefully. Now in Arabic we call it tarjama. Tarjama is translation. Tarjama is different from tafsir and is different from tahawil. When we say tahawil, it's interpretation. When we say tafsir, it means explanation or commentary. When we say tarjama, it's translation. I said, I being somebody who has translated the Quran, I can give you guidelines because it takes somebody who has translated the Quran to be able to give you guidelines because he has translated it. So he knows how to go by it. And this guy misconstrued my word with translation to explanation. Do you see the foolishness? Look, I used to think that communication was key until I realized that comprehension is rather the key to communication. You can communicate all you want to someone, but if they don't understand you, it won't reach them the way you want. And that is exactly what you find with Prince Mushrik. He doesn't understand English. So when I speak, he's listening to something else.
Prophet whom the Quran was revealed to, he has no right to explain the Quran to mankind.
You see where he is? So I'm talking about, let's say I'm talking about fish and he is talking about vegetables. Do you see the problem? Baba is telling you that the Quran, God has already explained the Quran. God has already clarified the Quran. So it is not the prophet who has to do anything. His is just to make the people know the book. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. So you give the ta'aleem, meaning to make them aware, to know it. If I make you know something, it means you never knew it before. So now I'm making you know. If you know that thing, then inside that thing, there's clarification, there's explanation, there's exposition, there's tafsir already. That is the point. You now see the explanation God has done. I don't need to explain anything. Now, this is what sectarians don't usually understand. But let's help this mushrik.
But you, the one who doesn't even know where the Quran is coming from, you have the authority and the audacity to insult everyone that says the prophet is the one to explain the Quran to us and tell us that you are the right person to explain the Quran and to give people.
Where did I mention that I'm the right person to explain the Quran? So this is the advice we are giving to the general public. You don't know the difference between translation and explanation. If you don't understand English, ask for help. Ghana is an English country. So ask for help so that you be taught English, so that you speak to the masses. Don't come misconstruing what people say. Now listen.
The guidelines in order to understand the Quran. First,
so me giving guidelines to somebody doesn't mean I'm explaining the Quran. You see the foolishness of not knowing English. If I'm giving somebody guidelines, listen, guidelines doesn't mean I'm explaining the book itself. I'm giving you guidelines on how to understand the Quran. It's guidelines. It's not like I'm explaining the Quran. English, dummy.
of all, you have insulted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Then he goes to the extent to tell the people that I have insulted God. So when we have the ignorant people listening, they might think, yes, babashuaib is insulting God.
Allah, because Allah himself says the prophet should explain it to us.
Then he repeated again. Allah himself said the prophet should explain it to you. Hey, which verse? You thought when you quoted chapter 16 verse 44, وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. You thought that is the verse which actually explains? You don't know what zikr is. How can you even know what Quran is?
You are saying that we are foolishly saying that the prophet is the one to explain the Quran to us. Meanwhile,
yes, you are foolishly saying it. You guys don't have evidence. I dare you. Correctional officer is online. I can open my phone lines. You come and prove to me where God says the prophet should explain the Quran.
while Allah is the one who said it, you the one sitting down here who doesn't pray 5 daily prayers.
He says, you the one sitting here who doesn't pray 5 daily prayers. Can you even prove your 5 daily prayers to correctional officer? I dare any of your scholars in the world. Face me one-on-one and prove to me your 5 daily prayers in the Quran. You guys are bozos, I keep telling you. You don't have knowledge. Seriously, your knowledge is from the garbage books.
He doesn't believe in Shahada.
He says, I don't believe in the Shahada. There is Shahada in Quran chapter 3 verse 18. Go and check. The Shahada, God himself bear witness to it. The Shahada, the angels bear witness to it. The Shahada, those of knowledge like us bear witness, which is Ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah. That is enough. That is the Shahada I believe, not the Shahada of mushriks. وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. Out of your foolishness, go and read chapter 63 verse 1, Surah Al-Munafiqun, and see you that you are not there. You were not there when messenger was made a messenger. You say you bear witness. You see the foolishness? How can you bear witness of something you have not seen and witnessed? Were you there? Were you there when God made Muhammad a messenger? Mushriks and liars, munafiqun, you are these people. Nashhadu innaka la rasulillah. You are telling the messenger that you bear witness he is the messenger of God. You think out of your foolishness, do you think God needs your witness? Oh, you don't know, huh? Go and read Quran chapter 4 verse 79. God says, wa arsalnaka lin-nas rasulan wa kafa billahi shahidan. God says he is sufficient as a witness for Muhammad being a messenger. But because you are foolish mushriks, you don't listen to God, you listen to your garbage books, and you still saying Ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. You come and tell God that you bear witness Muhammad is the messenger. Hey, does God need your witness again? You come and say Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. You are a hypocrite. Wallahi lazim. Munafiqai. Let's go.
Don't pray Jum'ah. Allahu Akbar.
He says, I don't pray Jum'ah. Come and show me Salat al-Jum'ah. Again, you the mushriks, where it says Salat al-Jum'ah. Go and read chapter 62 verse 9. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu iza nudiya lis-salat min yawmil jum'ati. It doesn't say min Salat al-Jum'ah. There is no Salat al-Jum'ah in the Quran. It is out of your foolishness. You keep using the garbage books to say you are explaining the Quran. That is why you keep saying Salat al-Jum'ah, Salat al-Jum'ah, Salat al-Jum'ah, and yet we don't find it. I dare you. Call correctional officer. Prove to me from Surah Al-Jumu'ah where it says Salat Al-Jumu'ah. I dare you. I'll give you my life savings. Wallahi lazim. Prove to me where it says Salat Al-Jumu'ah. I dare you.
In your prayers, you don't say that. You the one.
I thought you said I don't pray. You are saying in my prayers I don't say Allahu Akbar. He said I don't pray. Now he's saying in my prayer I don't say Allahu Akbar again. What is the confusion here?
Who doesn't know how the Quran was revealed?
He says I don't know how the Quran was revealed. Seriously, do you even listen to my lectures? No.
Because you have been able to translate the Quran into English, you have the authority.
So you actually admitted that I have been able to translate the Quran in English. Thank you. And yet no scholar of yours in Ghana has ever done it.
And the audacity to explain the Quran for mankind.
I never said I'm explaining the Quran. I only did translation so that people who don't know the language can now know what the Quran says. That's all I did. Because you don't study. You thought I did explanation of the Quran.
But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yeah, this is how they worship the Prophet. They can never mention his name without saying sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are the mushriks.
Whom the revelation was given to, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the authority and the audacity to.
You keep repeating authority, audacity. Where is it? Where is the verse which says on the authority of God, Prophet Muhammad, we have given you the audacity and the privilege to explain the Quran. That is what your books are telling us. It's telling us our God is a shallow God, so he cannot explain the Quran. Who taught you, the human being, how to even speak? You say he cannot explain his book. So it is you, the foolish mushriks, and your garbage books, your hadiths, which is going to explain the Quran. Are you not the same people who say the Prophet is Ummi? So if you say it's Ummi, so that he, the Ummi, is going to explain the Quran. What is wrong with your logic? You forgot Quran chapter 20 verse 114. The Prophet was asked to say,
explain the Quran to mankind. You said he has no right to do.
Can you show us the right? Where is the right? Where God says the Prophet should explain the Al-Quran. Because mushriks don't know the difference between Al-Kitab and Al-Quran. They don't know. So just like they don't know the difference between Nabi and Rasul. They don't know. When God says Atiullah wa Atiur Rasul, you hear the mushriks telling you obey God and obey the Prophet. They don't know the difference between Rasul and Nabi.
That if you are a Muslim and you are supporting all these things,
the real Muslims will actually support what I'm doing. Even my videos, you took it out of context. Even my statements out of context. Even the Quran, you are taking out of context. How can you comprehend the correctional officer? Sometimes you have to research my name and know what my name is about before even watching my videos.
I don't know what you are going to tell Allah on the day of judgment.
So now you don't know what the person is going to tell Allah. I thought you said you don't know what the person will tell the Prophet. So now from Prophet to Allah, who is actually your God on the day of judgment? Because according to your hadith, the Prophet will say Anallaha, Anallaha. So the Prophet is the commander of the day of judgment. This is what the hadith is telling us, right? And I don't know which verse of the Quran that particular hadith is explained.
If a human being opens his buccal cavity and vomit all days, and you are calling yourself a Muslim and you are supporting it.
Where did I vomit all this? You couldn't play my video in your 5-minute speech where I was saying all this. Just be honest with yourself. Did you play my video entirely showing the people where I said all this? No. Even when I mention translation, you are mentioning explanation. It shows you don't understand English. So what is your point actually, Prince Mushrik? Why are you being emotional? All you could do to correctional officer is step on my page if you have balls. Or if you like organize live stream, I'll join you. And let's see if you have the balls.
Don't know what you want to achieve. It is only an enemy of Islam that will bisect his or her buccal cavity 360 degrees.
So that's what they tell their people. They say this guy is the enemy of Islam. He's the enemy of Islam. Somebody who is trying to free the Prophet from the nonsensical and garbage books you have written. Babashuaib is defending this honorable man's legacy as it is stated in Quran chapter 7 verse 157. فَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِهِ وَعَزَّرُوهُ وَنَصَرُوهُ وَاتَّبَعُوا نُورَ الَّذِي أُنزِلَ مَعَهُ. I respect him. I believe in him. I support him. And you claim I am the enemy of Islam. Really?
Grease and vomit such things. Those who knows nothing about Islam and those who are still converting and those who wants to convert, be careful on people you listen to on social media. Because
I agree, people should be careful, like Prince Mushrik. They should be careful with you because all your things you have been doing, people fact check you and you're out of coverage area. Prince Mushrik, I'm only responding to this video because it is trending. I actually have to give this message to the wise ones because they know you are a liar and you are a manipulator, and that's why I showed the message on the screen. So you have to be honest.
These kind of people are just here to mislead mankind.
Really? The one who is telling people not to follow the book claiming your prophet married 6 years old girl is actually here to mislead mankind. Really? Wow.
I, being somebody who has translated a fully translated Quran,
Am I the first person to translate the Quran? Don't your scholars, the Sunni scholars you have, your own scholars, didn't they translate the Quran? So does that mean they also know the Quran more than the prophet? Or does that mean they are explaining the Quran over your prophet? Because the last time I checked, you have Sunni scholars like Yusuf Ali who have translated the Quran for you. Because it's babashuaib, a Ghanaian, which you hate. So to top it all, when he played this video of mine, then he toppled it with Muhammad Hijab's video, laughing. Then you put Muhammad Hijab, seriously, as the ending part of your video to laugh at me. Okay, let's listen to Muhammad Hijab.
It's absolutely true that the Quran can guide you. All these verses of guidance and stuff like that. You can be guided by the Quran alone. It can guide you straight to faith. No doubt about it.
So I'm having the last laugh.